Yes. Okay.
Alright.
Okay, so Jed, how was your day?
I think it's kind of nerve-wracking because going on live streams is always a bit scary. Yeah. But overall it's kind of great. Yeah, excitement, nervousness, but we've been preparing for this live stream for quite a period of time.
Yes.
And I feel like, it's really hi guys, those who just joined,
Oh.
should we introduce ourselves? We haven't introduced ourselves. Okay, sorry.
Yep.
Yeah. So nice to meet you all. My name is Jed. I'm the founder of I'm Fairly Cool. And we have...
Hi, I'm Sivani. I'm the marketing lead of I'm Fairly Cool. If you have watched our Keeping Up with I'm Fairly Cool episodes, I'm the host there. So yeah, that's me.
Yes. So we were just talking about how our day has been, and we've been prepping for this live stream for quite a bit of time. It's actually our very first podcast series. Yeah. So do let us know how that goes. If it's you find it interesting, insightful. We've been doing quite a bit of research. Yeah, preparing for this special live stream. So let us know how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Okay, so maybe Jed, let's talk about why we wanted to start this podcast in the first place.
Right.
I think personally, like how we discussed, I think we really wanted this to be a space for us to document our personal growth.
Right.
Bring you along on our journey. And definitely you'll be seeing more faces in upcoming episodes. Do stay tuned. Let us know what kind of content you want to see.
Yes, help Savani out. She's stressed about what type of content, what do you guys want to see.
Yes.
Do let us know, then we can kind of do the research and stuff. I think what Savani said, we really wanted to just find a place for us to kind of document all the stuff that we've been learning along the way. I think, the learning never stops when we actually enter this space, right? There's just so much available resources and stuff. And as we personally grow as well, we just want to take you along for that journey. Yeah, and then explore this together with you guys. A lot of you have been really asking us about information on mental wellness, especially and personal growth as well. And as we kind of learn a lot of stuff, we just get very excited and we want to share it with people. And we just find that maybe this is an avenue we can kind of release that, yeah, and kind of just have a conversation. Share among ourselves, among the IFC team as well. What's up, essentially, and learn from one another, for sure. Yeah.
And you can get to see the friendly faces behind I'm Fairly Cool.
Yes, there are so many of them, right? I know some of them are quite nervous, but I'll drag them and make sure that they come. But yeah, it's we have such an amazing team that's been working behind us, and I would love for you guys to actually get a chance to kind of see them. A lot of them work behind the scenes, let's say for example, the tech team, the techie people, right, hiding behind the computer screens and stuff. We'd love to get them, get them exposed and really just let you see who are the people. I really believe that I'm Fairly Cool is a team, right? We are more than just a name, a brand. We're just people, and I believe in that, and I'll bring that to you guys as well.
Yeah, so I guess this will be an opportunity for you guys to also understand who are the people behind IFC and how they have contributed to how IFC has come so far, definitely. Should we go into the episode or should we wait?
Let's just dive right into it, right? So we have the very first episode that we have here. What's it about?
Okay, wait, hold up. Did we even talk about who this podcast is for?
Oh, I guess we haven't. Okay, let's go about that. Right.
Okay, so of course, we do want to target our youths and also those who are young at heart. And,
yes, those who are young at heart. So if you're in your late, don't worry, we don't use lingo. Yeah, you can join us and you can really walk along this experience.
Everyone is welcome. Yes, we are just hoping to reach out to people who are just as excited as us to go along this journey and to find out more about mental health related topics and of course mental wellness as well. The theme of our podcast, I guess it will be more conversation, reflection based.
Right.
So maybe after watching our podcast, you can also go back and reflect about different areas of your life as well.
Right.
We really want to bring you guys across this journey with us.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's really about sparking that conversation, bringing you a different perspective, right? That allows you to kind of think, right? The same conversations that we've had, like bringing on that journey about the questions that we ask ourselves and the reflections that we've had, after exploring it. And this is something that I really hope is very practical, things that after this live stream, or maybe during this live stream, don't use your phones, cause grab like pen and paper, join us, and then we can kind of explore this together and kind of learn as we go. So we hope that this is something that's very practical, a bit different. It's not, I know we're from the university, it's not going to be a lecture, it's going to be something that you guys can kind of practice and go along together with it.
Yeah. And just a quick disclaimer, I think this podcast is mainly about our thoughts and opinions that we are sharing with you guys. Just wanted to state that before we go into that.
We are not trained professionals or life coaches by any means. We're just people who are like passionate about mental health and wellness, and we want to just share with you that journey. And obviously, we want to hear from you as well. If you find out that there's something that works for you personally, right, do let us know also. And who knows, maybe that's something that we'll talk about next. Yeah?
Okay, I think we've covered
Yes, we covered the basics on what's on your mind, right? That's quite witty. She came up with it, right? Our marketing lead. Yes.
Yes, guys. Okay, so I guess the year is coming to an end. That's something that sparked the idea for this podcast episode. So it's about purposeful friendships and purpose-filled friends. So maybe Jet, what is the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear this topic?
I think when I hear this topic, right, it talks about two things that seems quite odd, like two things that don't correlate, you know what I mean? Like one is purpose and one is like friends, like people. How are these two related? It feels so different. But as we begin to kind of explore this, we realize that a lot of these are tied together. Like finding purpose in what we do actually motivates us and drives us and wakes us up every single day to do the tasks that we have to do to motivate us to move through life. And we don't do it alone, right? We do that with people. And that's when this team really came together as we were doing research and stuff, and we realized this is a topic that we really wanted to talk about and wanted to start off this podcast with a bang, so it's going to be really exciting. Yeah.
Okay. Personally, I was thinking about like how our social circle kind of affects the purpose that we have in our lives. Like what is the correlation between the two? How it can kind of help one another to improve and grow together with people as well.
Right.
Okay. Maybe Jet, is there something that you have for our viewers to share with?
Okay, I think starting this podcast first, right? It's gonna be a bit. Let's start off with something interesting. Okay, so when I was thinking what's on your mind, right? I realized that I want to try something a bit unique, right? So if you're listening, and this need not be you're watching live, if you're catching up with this later on, right? It's something that you can do along with us. Let's just try this example, right? Okay. And it's really about what's on your mind. Okay, so I'm going to try this, right? It may not work 100% of the time, but I'm going to try to read your mind. Right, so this is just a fun thing that I was thinking hey, let's just start off with something interesting, right? I'm not sure if this is going to work, but let's just try. So first up, right, I want you to think of a number from 1 to 10, yeah? A simple number because you guys don't have your phone, so you can't use calculators. So I'm going to make it easy for you guys. Think of a simple number from 1 to 10, alright? I believe you kind of got it. You can change your mind as many times, but once you got it, you stick to it, right? So let's say you got a number. I want you to multiply this number by... Let's go with something that most people should know. I'm not sure if you guys have seen this, but your 9-time table, so you can actually use your fingers to count. So I want you to multiply your first digit with the number 9. Yeah? So now it becomes... Oh, you're doing it as well? Okay, that's great. So you have a relatively larger number, right? Okay. Your first digit multiplied by 9. But that's quite big and it's quite scary. I know you guys are reaching for your calculators, no worry. Now if you do, for example, if you got the number 11, I want you to add the first digit. I hope it wasn't 11, but if it's 11, add the first digit and the second digit together. So if it's 11, it'll be 1 plus 1, and that's 2. If it's 12, it'll just be 1 plus 2, and it's 3. So now you have a very small number, hopefully not too difficult, right? Let's make it even smaller. I'm trying to be lenient with you guys here. So now I want you to take that digit and minus 5, right? So now you should have a really small number, right? And one thing that I thought was really interesting is back then, in the war, there will always be people, right, who do encoding, right? They encrypt messages, right, when they send across enemy lines, so that when people pick up the message, they have no idea what's happening, right? So that's what we're going to do now. One of the most simple codes and you probably used this when you were a kid, right? It was that the letter A represents 1, the letter B represents 2. I don't have to go on, you can kind of guess. 26 letters, 26 numbers, right? I want you to find the letter that represents your number. And now you know why I want a small number, right? So that you don't have to count your alphabet, right? So you should have a letter that represents your number that you have now, the new number that you have now. Yeah? Just one letter. I want you to think of a country that starts with that letter. Shouldn't be too hard. And with the second letter of that country, I want you to think of an animal. Any animal with the second letter of that country. And I want you to think of a color of that animal. Alright, so I hope you've gotten it, right? And this is the big payoff. If you have done the work, this is going to be exciting. Again, right, anybody can do this, right? You don't have to be watching live. So you've got a country, you've got an animal, you've got a color.
Okay.
Right? If you're online, let us know if this works. How many of you, right, today, like what's on your mind, are thinking of a grey elephant in Denmark? Right? How many? I don't know. I don't know if that works. I don't know. I can't actually see you guys, but hopefully that worked. Right? And I just wanted, to start off this series a bit of a fun way and like literally what's on your mind. Right? But yes, so okay, let's get into the podcast. Yeah, let's get into the session. Hopefully that's something fun for you guys. You guys can try it out with other friends, I don't know. But yeah, what's on your mind? Let's dive right in.
Okay, sure. So, in terms of talking about your social circle, like, have you ever, like, had friends, right, that you look up to? Like, the way they just carry themselves and the way they are so put together. Like, I feel like I have friends that are just so organized, and the way they carry themselves, right, I just love their confidence, and they just look so organized. So, like, I just wanted to find out, like, do you have friends who are like that?
Definitely. I feel like, in terms of the friends that I have, there are obviously going to be like a few people who I really look up to, like people who I admire and I really respect, right? And I sometimes feel like spending time with them, right, is just it's just so refreshing because they have that different they have a different like what I call it, different set of experiences,
okay.
And that just makes them so refreshing and unique. Yeah.
Okay. I think that these kind of people, I love that for you. Like, teach me your ways. Like,
yeah.
I want to learn from you. So, like, I just feel like, is there a way for people to, learn from them and, like, how they are being, like, so talented and capable in what they're doing? So, would that be something that you would want to know?
So, like, what's something I want to know from, like, my circle of friends? I think that's something that's very interesting because like with different friends, right, what I've noticed is that they have different strengths, right? So like for example, I have like friends who are like gym buffs. When you go to the gym, you have to grab them along because they know everything, right? For me, like I wouldn't know like what is this, what is that, what's the right way to do. I will probably have to go and watch a YouTube video on how to properly use the gym equipment, right? So I think it's in terms of context, right? Like if I have friends who are great in that, and then that's kind of where it rubs off on me, right? They're the kind who will drag me to go and exercise, like, hey, Jet, let's go and do this, and I'll be like, okay, like for your sake, let's go and hang out, right? Then obviously they're going to be friends who are like, oh my gosh, the smartest people, like the most hardworking people, and they'll be like, hey, Jet, you want to study? You want to study? And I'm just like, sure. Then after that, we end up studying. So I feel like different people kind of bring out the best in me. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so this is the case for like friends that you're closer to, right?
Yes.
So have you guys wondered like how would you be able to do that for your acquaintances? This is something that we'll be covering today to find out tips and tricks on how to kind of form connections with these kind of talented and capable people that you want to be more like. So before that, let me share with you guys a tip that I came across.
Yes.
It's called the proximity principle. Have you heard of it?
No.
Okay. Me too. I just found it out recently, and I thought it was pretty interesting. It's actually by Festinger, Schechter, and Beck who did some research on this. So what it basically, a gist of the principle would be that when people who encounter each other more frequently, they are actually likely to develop stronger relationships. So this is a tip for you if you have a crush. Just putting it out there.
Damn, relationship advice, like 2 in 1, right?
Yes, you can even do a topic on that if you want.
Yes, if that's something that you'd be interested in, like hearing us have a conversation about, let us know, like in the comments, yeah, and then that's something we can explore for sure.
Yeah. So actually, like when I heard of the principle, I was like thinking about my friends who are attached. Then I was like, wait, actually the way that they met their partner, it was always like through like maybe CCA or like group project, or always like a mutual friend they always hang out with. So I realized that they were always in a context where they were able to interact a lot with their future partner, I guess. So yeah, so linking that back to friendships, we do have like different layers of friendships, right? We have like acquaintances, we have friends and close friends. And before like I get into the tips on how to get closer to them, one thing I would like to say is that when you form connections with people, right, like do ensure that they are genuine connections. Like I would say maybe try to avoid making like a forced connection. And yeah, hope that the upcoming tip will be useful for you. So before that, let's talk about choosing your circles. So, do you agree that you have different friend groups?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Like, for sure.
So, like, you know how we act different around our different friend groups?
Shane, now that you mention that, that's very true. Like, I feel like each friend group, right, kind of see a different side of you, right? And that's something I never really thought about. Yeah, tell me more. like I read for real. Yeah.
Like, okay, let's look at this Rubik's Cube, you know. You know how it has, like, different colors on different faces, but it's not that you show every face of this to your different friend groups, right? And, I mean, that's okay, because we have friend groups for, like, different reasons, right? Whether it's, like, your CCA friends, or, like, your school friends, or, like, catching up with your secondary school friends. So, we have, like, different friend groups for different purposes, and here's why your chosen circle of friends are important. There's a quote by Jim Rohn that goes, "You are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with."
Right.
Yeah, when I first heard about it, I was like, is this about IQ or like, what is this about? Yeah, so actually like what this implies is that the kind of people that you surround yourself with, they are the kind of people that are going to influence your decisions, your actions, and eventually your results. So these people in your life, they are actually going to affect the decisions that you make and the consequences that you will face. Not consequences, but basically the results of your actions.
Right.
Yeah. And disclaimer, just because you're being more aware of the people in your life, I'm not trying to say like avoid the people that you don't want to be like, yeah. Please treasure the people in your life, yeah. So what I'm trying to say is like trying to spend more time with the people that you want to be more like. So there comes the question of, what if I have a friend, but it's not exactly a role model, right? It's not like I can just disregard this friend. I still need this friend. Like, so how can you frame your way of thinking to kind of value add to the friendship? So let's do a simple activity. So trying to think of like, maybe for you guys, 3 to 5 friends that you hang out the most with. And maybe for us, we can think of like 1 to 2 due to time constraints.
Sure.
Yeah, like try to think of like your closest 2 friends, and what is one thing that you like about them, like individual person.
Right. If like thinking of the friends I spend time with, right, I think for me, right, it's kind of odd, right? But just being vulnerable with you guys and sharing with you all, like some of you, like those who know me at a closer level, actually do realize that I'm quite introverted, when I'm speaking to people, right? And so sometimes I actually like hanging around with extroverted people.
Oh, okay.
Right? On one-on-one basis, cause like, right? But I just love it. I love the energy that they bring. And I just love understanding that level of understanding that different angle. So I like hanging around with extroverted people, going out for hikes, and then just like, I mean, the good thing is that they're talking all the time and I can just like, I can just be myself, right? But I think another thing is that it kind of rubs off on me. I kind of see and kind of understand their perspective of the world, right? I can see what excites them. And over time, I realize that there are portions of things that excites them that also begin to excite me, right? So I have friends who are like that, who are more extroverted than me. And I feel like it's like, I almost see myself in them. Like, I see that, oh, they have that thing, they are something that I'm kind of lacking, and it just complements each other, like we complement each other, and so like we have that mutual respect.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like
That's
we respect
sweet.
each other's strengths and weaknesses. And yeah, that's just an example of a friend I had. another one maybe because I do, right? Another one would probably be like a friend that I hang out with who's very ambitious.
Okay.
Very, very hardworking, like a close friend of mine. And, he's been through so much in life, but at the same time, right, he there's like no element of like giving up. There was never, that thought never crossed his mind. And just hearing his stories, right, and the fact that everything he does, right, understanding what he's been through and where he is now, right, it's just so amazing to hang out with him. And there's just that kind of thing where there's that awe, and like, he's my friend. Yeah, and I just love that, like spending time with him, just, I wouldn't say like, a mentor and advisor, that kind of thing, but more of just like a friend who's someone who's like maybe, who's someone that's like a role model that I looked up to, I really respect, and I'm glad that, we are close. Yeah.
Okay. That's so insightful and sweet. I think mine is more of like everyday things. So let's say I have this friend, she's very into fitness. Let's call her fitness girl Fiona.
Wow!
Fiona. I don't have a friend called Fiona, but okay.
What if you do now? She was so offended, but okay.
Sorry, I don't know any Fiona.
If your name is Fiona, like you're forgive somebody.
Sorry about it. Hope you're into fitness as well. Fitness Fiona is someone like, she goes for a run like twice a week. And she's gosh. Like so fit. I'm like, wow, I want to be more like you. So one thing that Fiona shared with me would be that she likes sceneries. Like, you know how like in the park you have like the golden hour, then like the whole vibe is just nice, right?
Yes.
And then I was like, okay, maybe I can value add something to Fiona. So I recommended, I was like, why don't we go for a run at Gardens by the Bay? And then I was like, and luckily Fiona was okay with it. Fiona and I did go for a run. Definitely it was, for me, it was like running after a long period of time. So, Fiona was far ahead in front of me, but I think what mattered is that Fiona actually motivated me to go for a run, after so long.
Right.
So that's somehow a way actually, like how I tried to value add to Fiona as well as myself. Another example would be a friend of mine who's very productive. Let's call her Priscilla. Productive Priscilla.
I love it. Okay.
Do I know you Priscilla again? No. If you're Priscilla, I hope you're productive. Productive Priscilla is someone that is very productive. Like, Priscilla always goes to school to like get her work done. She's someone who just can't study at home. So I was like, okay, since Priscilla's always at school, like maybe I should go find Priscilla when she's studying. So that I kind of made Priscilla like my study buddy, just to find that motivation to like really sit down and do my work for once. Yeah. So these are like some examples of how you can kind of treasure the people who are already in your life. Confirm, like, everyone has their own sets of strengths and weaknesses. And being friends, we can just help to complement each other and help each other grow, I feel.
I think I really love what you were sharing. You're talking about how when we find people that has like value to us, we feel like there are characteristics that we really admire, right? And we want to actually learn from them, right? We want to actually see and understand their thought process, what makes them tick, right? But at the same time, right, that's not how friendships work. It's not a one-way exchange. Friendship works from interactions, right? So it's all about relationships that we're having with people. And it's a two-way thing. Like, you incentivizing in a way, proposing, let's go and run, right, at Gardens by the Bay, right? Yeah, and then that creates that value as a reason to kind of meet. And that's the perspective that we need to kind of take into like relationships and friendships as well. But it should be kind of like a two-way. What value can I give people? At the same time of like, what type of values can I give back? It's not so transactional in that sense, but it's something that we should be a bit more intentional about, especially when we realize how much it influences our life. Like, Savani was mentioning about how we're the average of the people that we spend time with. And that is so important because like time is something that is precious, and the amount of time that we spend with people has a lot of impact on us, in terms of like the way we view things, right? It's influenced by people that we spend time with, the way we choose to act, to different scenarios and situations is based on the advice even of the people that we spend time with. And so we need to be kind of intentional about like how we choose to spend our time, right? And then the same thing is that we want to maintain this. How can we, make sure that, how can we make sure that this relationship is something that works? I mean, it became a relationship podcast, but I feel like that's something that interesting that you brought up. How can I give value to my friends? Yeah, I think it's very interesting.
Yeah, and I do completely agree with your point about friendships not being transactional. Like,
definitely.
There's definitely more to that. And yeah. And in terms of optimizing your circle.
Wow.
I feel like there have been situations where you might not have been so comfortable with maybe engaging in an activity that, your group of friends are involved. Maybe a mini story time for you guys. So,
can't wait for this.
Okay, so during my last semester, as in my previous semester, I was working with a group of exchange students. So, it just so happened that everyone was from different countries, and due to the environment that we were all brought up in, I felt that our attitudes towards the work culture was different, where they were more of work hard, play hard. I think my work culture was slightly more different than that. Let me give you an example. So we were all chonging for a good project. We are like, oh yes, we are done with this project. We are done for our presentation. Like, yes, like, that moment of relief. Yeah, so what happened was, it happened to be a Wednesday. So they were like, okay, Wednesday night, girls night, let's go to the bar, And I was like, I definitely like being around them, like working with them. It was definitely a great experience for me. However, I did not manage to go with them, and one of the main reasons was it was during the exam season.
Right.
So I guess for their the way of thinking for some of them was that, I'm done with this, I want to celebrate, so I'm inviting my friends to go to the bar.
Right.
Which, that's perfectly fine. Like, if you're comfortable with it, like, go for it. I guess for me, it was still during the exam season, so I was a bit stressed, because, I had exams coming up. I was like, oh my god, I don't have enough time. So, I politely declined, but I guess I learned to prioritize what were my needs and addressing those needs. So I tried to surround myself with people who were also chonging like me, like people who were trying to, revise for their exams.
Right.
So I kind of just changed my environment,
Right.
surrounded myself with the people that kind of helped me achieve my goal. So that's just a mini story for you guys. So I feel that, this also allows me to spend time with more friends, engage in different activities, my different friend groups, so I can get to, spend time with the different groups
Right.
of friends in my life. Yeah. Okay, so moving on to how to get too close to your acquaintances, tips and tricks. So, have you heard about the 33% rule?
No, share with me. Sounds like a lot of math, but okay.
Minimal math, yeah. So, this was actually created by Tai Lopez, who's a TED speaker, and he also makes YouTube videos. So 33% is actually 100% divided by 3, right? So
Right.
it means that there are
Like-
3.
Sorry, 33%. Then I was like, okay, what happened to the 1%? Sorry, go ahead.
Yes. So we have the 3 groups of people in our life. So the first 1/3 of the people in your life would be your mentors. The second third of your life would be your peers, and the last would be people that you can guide and help. So I felt like mentor was a bit more easier to understand. You have mentors in your lives to get advice about whether it's like relationship advice or health advice or even finance advice. Yeah. And when it comes to peers, like one thing I learned is that you can always learn from your peers. In what way? Maybe like, upcoming trends in different industries, people who will be going through the same experiences as you. So this is an opportunity for you to, share stories of like what works, what doesn't, like kind of a give and take kind of situation where you can learn from each other and help one another grow. And the last one, which I found the most interesting, was people that you can guide and help. I was like, oh, okay, these people are significant as well. Why? It's because these are the people that you'll be like a mentor to them. You're kind of passing it forward, like the knowledge that you have learned from your mentors or the experiences shared, like to help them to reach a stage at where you are right now when they reach your point in life. Life is always about giving and taking. It's not always taking from others, but also giving back to another group of people who can benefit from it.
Right, I think like as you were sharing that, right, about how we can give back in the terms of like guiding others, right, really reminded me of like, what we do, and like the closest thing I can probably give an example of is like education, right? Like, going up to our seniors and stuff, like, when I was actually like, exploring like career paths, what I want to do after I graduate, that sort of thing, I will ask like my seniors, and some of them are just so like amazing. They will just say like, hey, let's go grab coffee, let's talk about it, like they're willing to set aside their time, right, among their busy schedules while working to kind of like figure it out with me. Yeah, and I just take it like, oh wow, I have such amazing okay, they're not like significantly older than me or something, but I have such amazing people like that I can look up to, like role models and really people that I admire and respect, right? And I have a lot of them from a lot of different aspects of my life, And the same thing, it's not like when it's flipped, when I have like juniors who ask me about stuff, and I feel like I have the same shoes, right? Now I have the ability, slightly further ahead, don't know everything, but for example, like the smaller things, like, which module should I take, like something like that. I feel like now I'm in the position that I can actually help them, guide them through, talk them through, like, what do you want, what do you actually want? And I feel like that's such a good place to be, right? Being able to learn from others, being able to guide others, right? And I think the peers thing is something that most people don't realize, but these are the people that walk the journey together with you, right? A lot of times, these are the people who you can complain about with, right? And it's just like people who really empathize with you, right? Because they are in the same stage of life as you, going through the same things, exploring the same things. And I'm so fortunate that I have like peers, who are going through similar things. And we always can talk about it, right? And it's like, with fresh eyes, because they're the one that's going through exactly the same thing that I'm going through right now, rather than from someone who has like been through it. And I feel like it never really occurred to me, but now that you mentioned like the 30, oh my gosh, 33%, it's, obviously you don't have to like count your friends, like, you don't make it in this category, I'm sorry, unless you're the 1%, right? But I feel like it's such a good thing to have this balance, right? There are people that we guide, there are people that we learn from, and there are people that we go through things with. I think it's a very powerful thing that not really something that comes naturally. But now that you mention it, it's we really need that balance, right? Yeah.
And speaking of like how it's something that we are doing, I guess I would like to give a shout out to our listeners as well. They've really been there for our talkers and providing this emotional support for them with the training that they have learned and giving it back to a community of people. And would you like to say something to our listeners?
So like if any of our listeners are listening, I just want to say that I have like very high regards for you guys. Like I feel like the work that you all do is it's amazing, and I just wish that I could really express how thankful I am for you guys. Our listeners are there every single week, 4 hours a week, setting aside time to have those conversations, and some of these conversations are difficult. I understand that. And, like they take the whole like giving back to another level, right? And these are the people that, why I respect them so much is they have the biggest heart. You know what I mean? I'm not talking about admiring them for any other thing, but the fact, right, that they are there and they have made a decision, right, to set aside their time, which is something that's so precious. I understand, I've heard from my team, many of them are working full-time jobs, some of them have late night shifts and they still choose to set aside time for others, to support others. And I think that's why, like, I don't think they follow the 1/3. They're doing so much more, and there are people that I really want to hang around with, that are the kind of people that I would love as friends, and I do see them as friends. Like, let's hang, hopefully, like maybe we can find time. Yeah, I just feel like we wouldn't be anywhere without our listeners, right?
Definitely.
And they just are such an important part of I'm Friendly Co. Yeah, and I'm getting carried away, but yeah, it's just like, yeah, so much love for them. Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah.
Also, speaking of which, maybe would you like to explain to our viewers, right, about our IFC web app, like how our listeners, like who are they? Maybe you can help us to define who are they.
Right, so I'm Friendly Co web application. You guys can check it out. Subtle. But it's available on our LinkedIn, and not LinkedIn, our Instagram's bio, right? You can access it every Monday and Fridays, 10 to 12 midnight. Our listeners are there every single week. Yeah, week in, week out. And they're just there to support you, have a listening ear, right? For example, if you just, for something very small, for example, if it's just a bad day, something that's affecting you, and you feel like you just don't get it off your chest, our listeners are there to listen to you. To something that's a bit more serious, right? We may not be able to help you. We're not professionals. I've mentioned that a couple of times, but we can direct you to the right resources. If you're afraid of seeking help, talk to us about it. Let's overcome this fear together. It's anonymous, so you don't have to worry about that. Yeah. You can choose your own avatars, your own names and stuff, like, what was her name? Fiona? So you can choose your own avatar and stuff, but the whole idea, right, is just how can we create a space that's just so easy to seek help, so easy for you to reach out. Yeah, and our listeners are just like super amazing, right? They are all youths as well. So there are people they are like your peers, essentially, like what Savani was talking about. There are people who have, in similar shoes, right? They're all youths, right? And that's what I really wanted to keep this community, to be a space where people have been through similar experiences, people understand what you're going through, and just a space where you can actually talk, yeah, and they're friendly, so don't worry about that. That's what our listeners are, people with really big hearts who are there to support you, to listen to you, to be that friend, right, that you may not feel comfortable with sharing. I talked about having different having different friend groups, right? And sometimes, different facets, right? Like different areas. There's going to be like things that you feel uncomfortable sharing with your friends. And I like to say that that's perfectly fine. There are things that we as humans, right, are ashamed of, or like do not feel that we're comfortable sharing with people. And that's where I'm Friendly Co stands, in the place that, where the conversations are the toughest, right? We're just there to listen to you, no judgment. It's a place where you can feel safe. Yeah, and we try our best, privacy and all that. Your conversations are anonymous, and we really respect that. Yeah, and we really make that a core in what we do. So, always open doors. We're not physical, we are online, so always open ears, I guess. Yeah, and if that's something that you need, or you have like friends, who need this, do reach out to try the platform out. Yeah.
And it's free.
Yes, it's free. So like Singaporean, like, but sure, yeah.
Okay, and to kind of wrap up on this episode, today's episode was about purposeful friendships and purpose-filled friends. So maybe what is one thing that you think our viewers should remember from today's episode?
I think like in terms of purposeful friendships, right? I feel like I really like this concept of understanding, like taking time to reflect, right? I think a very good practice, right, is to take note of whatever was discussed today, and maybe we can summarize that in a bit as well, in terms of the friendships that we have. And to kind of break that down, you need to understand of like, I would say like being more conscious about it, right? There's going to be groups of friends that is right at the right time, in the right context, right? And choosing the context is very important. Like you mentioned that there was a group that wanted to celebrate, but it was during your exam period. So is it the right thing to be hanging out with that group versus another group? And I feel like that's the beauty of it, having multiple acquaintances, multiple groups of friends who are right in the right context, right in the right time, right? And that's great, because like for me personally, I have role models, right, in the social space. I have role models in the intellectual space, like in education side. And I have like friend groups in different areas. And during the right context is the time you spend time with them. And obviously not telling you to be like strategic in how you choose to spend time. I'm just talking about being conscious, right? And making sure that you are, like what Savannah was talking about, optimizing, right? I'm talking about like how can we make sure that we spend our time effectively, and we build those relationships. When we spend time with them, we are setting aside time. We are able to like spend time with like multiple groups of people, and build those relationships in the area that's the best I would say like that puts them in the best light. Yeah, like in their strengths. Yeah, and those are areas that we can learn from one another and grow. Yeah.
Okay. I think personally for me, I like the proximity rule and the 33% rule. Like, you know, just to get closer to the people in your life and the people you want to be closer to, and definitely treasuring the people that you currently have in your life. And yeah, do let us know if you have any other suggestions or ideas of content that you would like to see in upcoming episodes.
Yeah, I think like we're still figuring out. This is like the very first episode, right? So we're talking about friendships, we're talking about circles. Do let us know like what is something that you'd be excited to hear about. You know, like you can always like just DM us on Instagram. Yeah, like Savani is here. She's the marketing lead. We actually do really want to hear your voice and opinions on like what are you excited about, what you want to hear from us next, and we can go and do like explore and learn it together. Yeah.
Okay guys, hope you enjoyed our first episode of What's on Your Mind. And any last words?
No, like what Savani said, just hope you had a great time talking to us and more to come. Yeah, so do look out for that.
Okay.
Yeah. Alright, bye.